Hello everyone, and welcome to my Young and the Restless Official 24 channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. It was meant to be just another stormy night in Genoa City, but fate had other ideas. A conflict that had been building for years came to a head inside the dark warehouse by the docks. Holden Novak, who many saw as the enigmatic man who had entered the Newmans' lives like a ghost, confronted Audra Charles, the lady who had previously declared her love for him. Their misdeeds, their falsehoods, and their past had finally clashed. The smell of betrayal and rain filled the air, which crackled with tension. Holden's eyes were fixed on Audra's trembling hand holding the gun as he pleaded, "Please don't do this," in a calm yet tremulous voice. "You don't have to end it like this," Audra said, but her eyes were icy, shining with rage and terror. With tears streaming down her face and her voice trembling, she spat, "You left me no choice. You were going to share with her every detail of Los Angeles." Holden lifted his palms and stepped forward cautiously. He said, "Claire deserves to know the truth. She has already experienced enough deception. Do you really believe that keeping it a secret will save her? It will ruin her." But Audra was no longer able to hear logic. Los Angeles raced across her thoughts, the one mistake that plagued her every day, the night that ruined everything. Only Holden was aware of what had actually transpired there, and only he had the ability to expose her. "Holden, do you believe that you are a hero?" Audra's voice cracked. "Do you really believe that she will pardon you for keeping this a secret for so long?" The rain trickled down Holden's face like tears as his jaw tightened. He concluded by saying, "She might hate me for a while, but she'll hate you forever when she learns what you did." The tipping point. Audra's lips trembled and her finger jerked on the trigger. "You're also not innocent," she let out a scream. "You also covered it up. Because you loved me, you kept me safe. Don't act like you didn't." Holden's heart broke in real time as his voice grew softer. The truth caught in his throat as he admitted, "I did love you. More than I ought to have. However, I can no longer allow you to do this. Audra, the truth must be revealed. For Claire's sake." The thunder outside drowned out the words as they reverberated throughout the large room. Audra's heart pounded so loudly that it overpowered the storm, making her breath catch. She shook her head angrily and muttered, "No. I lose everything if the truth is revealed. My reputation, my career, Claire will never be able to forgive me." Holden stepped forward one last time. "She'll see me as the monster I really am." With a tone that was almost compassionate, he added, "Then let her see. You've been avoiding who you are your entire life." Before she even fired the trigger, his words struck her like bullets, "Stop running." The night was torn in two by the deafening crack that followed. Holden's chest began to bleed, and his body jerked back. He stayed motionless for a time, his eyes wide, staring directly at Audra with a stare that would follow her around forever. He gasped once more, his voice fading as his legs gave way. "Please, don't do this." Audra's shaking hands let go of the gun, which clattered on the damp floor. Holden, with incredulity in every word, she stepped closer to him and whispered, "Holden, no, no, no." She fell next to him, trying to stop the blood with trembling hands. "You weren't meant to pass away," she cried. "I wasn't serious," however, it was too late. Like the last flicker of a burning candle, the brightness in his eyes gradually faded. Holden reached up and touched her cheek one final time, whispering faintly, "I loved you. Even after everything." As far-off thunder roared into the night, his fingers slid away, lifeless. Raw and guttural, Audra's scream broke the stillness, a sound of utter destruction that would never leave her. The warehouse doors sprang open a few moments later. Claire Newman's face was as pale as death as she stood there, soaked from the rain. "Hang on," she cried out and hurried over to them. Desperate and shattered, her voice broke. Her entire world fell apart when she saw Audra's blood-stained hands and the revolver on the ground. "What did you do?" she sobbed as she fell next to Holden's body. Audra was unable to respond. With tears flowing down her face and words stuck in her throat, she simply shook her head. He was going to tell you, but it was an accident. I didn't mean to. Claire grasped Holden's body, her tears filling the room. You murdered him, she let out a scream. You murdered the only man who ever stood up for me. As Claire rocked back and forth while cradling Holden's lifeless body in her arms, the distant sound of sirens got louder. With a look of dread on her face, Audra staggered back. She was having trouble breathing. Her connection with Claire, her meticulously constructed existence, and the one person who had ever really understood her heart were all gone, along with everything she had attempted to keep safe. Another life had been lost due to the Los Angeles secret. There was no going back now. Los Angeles's secret. Audra made a valiant effort to conceal a worse reality than anyone could have predicted. When Sarah and Holden were living in Los Angeles years ago, a prominent media executive by the name of Vincent Hale was discovered dead inexplicably. A drunken fall at his estate during a private party was officially declared an accident. Holden, however, had always suspected there was more to the tale. That evening, Audra had been present. Vincent had threatened to expose her for sleeping her way up the business ladder and falsifying company records. Things got out of hand. A furious dispute descended into violence. Holden arrived in time to see Vincent lying on the ground and Audra standing over him, shaking and with blood on her hands. He bribed witnesses, destroyed evidence, and assured her that it would never be brought up again in order to cover it up. Beneath a pile of falsehoods, they had lived with that secret between them for years. However, Holden understood the truth would eventually come to light when he returned to Genoa City and saw how close Audra had become to Claire and the Newmans. Before Audra's adversaries used it against her, he wanted to let Claire know. But Audra felt it was safer to remain silent since she was afraid of losing everything. She persuaded herself that the only way to permanently erase the past was to kill Holden. The breakdown of Claire. Later that evening, Claire sat in startled silence in the police station. Holden's blood was still on her hands. Despite Nick and Victoria's attempts to console her, she felt nothing except a never-ending, reverberating emptiness. She repeatedly said, scarcely audible, he was trying to protect me. Claire's whole body tightened when Audra was brought in handcuffed. He died because of her. Across the room, their gazes locked. Audra appeared lifeless, as if she had lost all of her vitality. Claire, she muttered. Claire, however, lost her temper and lunged forward while the officers restrained her. You're not innocent, she let out a scream. You stole everything from me. Holden, after Los Angeles. Because of what you did, you will rot in prison. Audra sobbed as her guilt overtook her. She begged, I never wanted this. I cherished him. Claire, I also adored you. But Claire looked aside, tears running down her cheeks. Please, trust me. You have no idea what love is, she remarked icily. Love is not deadly. The room grew silent. Love doesn't lie. For the first time, Audra understood that even if she managed to get out of jail, she would have already lost the one thing she needed, Claire's forgiveness. The cover-up starts. However, the tale didn't stop there. Victor Newman made a terrifying phone call just when everyone believed the truth had finally been revealed. This cannot be made public, he remarked somberly. Not for Claire's benefit. Not for Newman Media. Within hours, Holden's death was reported to have been accidentally shot during a break-in. The firearm vanished from sight. Additionally, several details were strangely omitted when the autopsy was returned. Nick went up to Victor. He said, You're covering for her. Holden was killed by Audra. She should pay, Victor said, but all he did was give his kid a stern look. He declared, What's done is done. Holden has passed away. Claire is shattered. He won't return if Audra is exposed. Nicholas, justice isn't always served by the law. Audra's haunting. In the weeks that followed, Audra descended into insanity. Sometimes it comes from quiet. Holden's voice could be heard in her dreams every night, whispering, Please don't do this. She could see his face in shadows, reflections, and every part of her mind. She attempted to return to her work, but she was unable to concentrate. She was reminded of the man she had killed by every encounter, grin, and camera flash. When she woke up one evening, she saw a single rose, the same sort Holden had brought her in Los Angeles, on her porch. Beneath it was a message in his handwriting that said, "You can't bury the truth forever." She turned to Claire in terror, pleading for an opportunity to explain, but Claire wouldn't even look at her. Claire declared, "I will never forgive you. The only person who ever had faith in me was Holden. I lost that to you." When Audra learned that Victor had removed all public references to Holden, no obituary, no grave, no record, her entire world fell apart. "You took him from everyone." It was as though he had never been there. The last cruelty was that even though the guy she killed had vanished from the face of the earth, she still carried his memory with her like a scar. One misty morning, Claire stood at the lake's edge and silently vowed. She whispered to Holden's memories, "I'll make sure the truth comes out. Everyone will know what really happened in Los Angeles, regardless of what Victor or Audra do." Her reflection gazed back at her with a strong and unwavering expression. This was no longer the gullible girl who trusted too readily. This woman was shaped by suffering, treachery, and blood. Returning to her apartment, Audra poured herself another drink while gazing out the window at the flickering city lights below. "I did what I had to do," she muttered to the night, but she knew it was a lie. She hadn't done it to keep anyone safe. She had taken this action to defend herself. She had destroyed everything she had ever cared about in the process. Not only was Holden's death tragic, but it also revealed everything Genoa City believed to be true about love, loyalty, and atonement. In addition to burying one secret, Audra Charles had unleashed something far worse, an unstoppable tempest of revenge. "You're not innocent, Audra," Claire muttered into the darkness as she wiped the final tear from her cheek. "No more." As if the heavens themselves were grieving Holden's passing, Genoa City awoke the next morning to a gloomy, gray sky. Rain kept falling, drenching the streets and removing the bloodstains from the dockside warehouse where Audra had committed herself. However, the guilt that now clung to her spirit could not be washed away by rain. In her opulent apartment, Audra sat by herself and gazed blankly out the window. Every drop of tears that struck the glass sounded like every heartbeat she had stolen, and the city lights blurred behind her. The flash, the bang, Holden's eyes widening in shock, all of these details kept playing over and over in her head. His final words, "Please don't do this," reverberated throughout her mind. Audra remained motionless when the door was knocked on. Even before she opened it, she knew who it was. Soaked to the bone, Claire Newman stood there with a stone-like look. Her speech was too calm, but her eyes were crimson from sobbing. Without waiting for permission, she pushed her way inside and stated, "We need to talk." Audra felt her heart skip a beat. She said, "Claire, please," but Claire interrupted her. Don't refer to me that way. You are no longer allowed to say my name." The atmosphere between them was poisonous. A glass of wine that Audra couldn't bring herself to drink was clasped in her shaking hands. She muttered, "I know you despise me." Claire said with a sour laugh, "I hate myself, too." "No, you don't. Those who despise themselves stop lying," Audra said sternly. "Are you lying?" "Concerning what?" Claire moved in closer, her face angry. "Concerning Los Angeles. About what Holden and you were concealing." "Audra, I am aware that it wasn't merely a corporate scandal. There's more. And I'm going to discover the precise reason you killed him." Audra's mask cracked for a brief period. Fear and pain twisted her face. She muttered, "You don't understand what happened that night." Claire's voice tightened. "If you did, you'd see why I had to do what I did." "Then let me know." Audra averted her gaze. "Tell me the truth." Claire's eyes flared, "It'll destroy you." "You did that already." The deeper secret. Claire went to Michael Baldwin, the one person she believed could still have answers, that evening. Michael had seen more of Genoa City's secrets than anyone else because he was her mother's former legal ally. Claire said, "I need you to help me dig into something. It has to do with Holden and Audra in Los Angeles." Do you know anything about a man by the name of Vincent Hale? Michael scowled. Hale, Vincent? The media tycoon? Claire nodded somberly. He died years ago under mysterious circumstances. I believe Audra was involved in some way. Additionally, I believe Holden assisted her in hiding it. Michael's eyes narrowed as he leaned back. Claire, you're talking about more than simply controversy if that is accurate. Claire's eyes sharpened. You're talking about murder. So let's call it what it is. As Michael started manipulating things behind the scenes, Audra's life was falling apart. She was questioned by the police several times, but because of Victor Newman's meddling, the official report remained inconclusive, and Holden's death was ruled an accident. Genoa City, however, was not duped. The coffee shop, the Newman offices, and the Grand Phoenix lobby were all full with whispers. Everybody had a theory. Some thought she had been attacked by Holden. Some believed it to be a crime motivated by passion. However, the rumor that was muttered in low voices was the most terrifying of all. Audra killed him to hide a secret. Audra's nightmare. Audra could no longer afford the luxury of sleep. She saw Holden's face each time she closed her eyes. His voice whispered from the shadows, haunting her nightmares. She would wake up sweating profusely, gasping for oxygen, and grasping for a man who wasn't there. You can't bury the truth forever, Audra. She appeared to be a stranger in the mirror, pallid, hollow-eyed, and overcome with terror. She saw the outline of a guy in the corner of her room one night as thunder crackled outside, and it sent shivers down her spine. Holden, she exhaled. The figure remained still. She clutched her chest and whispered, You're dead. You passed away. However, he vanished when she blinked. An unidentified box arrived at Claire's door the following morning. Her hand shook as she plugged the flash drive with the label Hale Mansion footage, private, into her laptop. The film, which showed a younger Audra and Holden fighting in Vincent Hale's study, was blurry but sufficiently clear. Intoxicated and enraged, Vincent yelled something about blackmail. Then there was mayhem. Vincent tumbled backward over the balcony, Holden leaped forward, and Audra screamed. Audra's terrified expression was captured by the camera before the screen darkened. With tears streaming down her cheeks, Claire covered her mouth. Oh my God, she muttered. He truly did it for her. He concealed everything. She understood now. Once, Holden had killed to keep Audra safe, and Audra had killed him to keep herself safe from the reality of that evening. Dispute at the memorial. Claiming it was the least they could do, Victor set up a private memorial for Holden at the Newman Ranch a week later. Only Nick, Victoria, Claire, and, grudgingly, Audra were invited. The room was filled with oppressive tension. On the mantel, surrounded by candles, was a photograph of Holden. Claire was unable to look away from it. Her chest hurt. She whispered, he deserved better than this. He was deserving of peace. Whispers began to circulate the moment Audra walked in. Dressed in black, her eyes were puffy and red, and she appeared frail. With hesitation, she went over to Claire. I had to come, she murmured. With a poisonous expression, Claire turned slowly and said, he would have wanted me here. You believe that being present makes you brave? The room grew silent. You're standing over the ashes of the man you murdered. Audra's lip quivered. She remarked, you don't know everything. You have no idea what he did. No, Claire yelled. I am fully aware of what he did. You were saved by him. He sacrificed his life to keep you safe. And you paid him back with a gunshot. At this point, Audra started crying uncontrollably. She sobbed, he was going to tell you what happened in Los Angeles. He intended to surrender himself. I had to stop him from dragging you into it. Claire moved in closer. She stated icily, you didn't kill him to protect me. You killed him to keep yourself safe. Because everyone would see your true nature if the truth was revealed. Audra's knees failed her. She collapsed on the ground, crying furiously. It just happened, I panicked, and I didn't mean to, she sobbed. With anguish and fire in her eyes, Claire gazed down at her. She said, you can cry all you want, but that doesn't make you innocent. Victor's game. Victor Newman, meantime, struck a bargain behind closed doors that would alter everything. At his office, he had a private meeting with Audra. With a chilly tone, Victor remarked, "You're lucky I'm not letting this go to trial. But from now on, you'll follow my instructions exactly. Regarding Holden's passing, Newman Media will not make any statements." Audra's voice trembled. "You'll quietly resign and disappear for a while." "And if I say no?" Victor narrowed his eyes and leaned forward. "After that, I release the Los Angeles footage. You will be punished for 2 murders rather than just 1. The blood left Audra's face. "You possess it?" she muttered. Victor gave a little smirk. "Let's just say that I have high-level friends." Holden desired to be honest. "In my own way, I will honor that." Audra knew she was stuck when she left his office. She was now Victor's. He would be in charge of every action she took. Every action she did and every lie she told would be observed. She had evaded punishment but not prison. Claire's retaliation. Claire's sorrow gave way to resolve as the days stretched into weeks. She began looking into every aspect of Holden's stay in Los Angeles, including his emails, phone logs, and secret accounts. She discovered a folder marked AC one evening. There was a letter from Holden, written a few days prior to his passing, titled Confession. "I didn't make it if you're reading this. I need you to know the truth, Claire. To keep someone I loved safe, I did horrible things. The night Vincent Hale passed away, Audra and I were present. She panicked, and I assisted in hiding the fact that it was an accident.